In the neon-lit alleys of Seoul, the name Kang Min-jae carried weight and fear. Born as the heir to the Kwon Syndicate, the city's most feared criminal empire, Min-jae's childhood was shaped not by lullabies but by whispers of betrayal, the clang of gunmetal, and the cold logic of survival. At 15, he attended meetings with his father, observing rivalries, deals, and the delicate balance between respect and fear. By 20, Min-jae was no longer a boy. He was a strategist, feared by the streets and respected by those who worked under him. Wealth flowed like water, but trust was a rare commodity. Love, he decided early, was a distraction he could not afford. Everything changed when he met the daughter of a rival family. Their first encounter was not in a cafe or a party, it was a tense negotiation to settle disputes over territory and resources. Soo-jin's sharp intelligence and unshakable confidence intrigued Min-jae. She challenged him in ways no one else could, forcing him to consider perspectives beyond profit and power. She laughed at his sarcasm, anticipated his moves in meetings, and even defied his orders when she knew it was right. Min-jae, for the first time, felt a flicker of something unfamiliar, desire. But he reminded himself of the rules of his world. Love was a vulnerability. One misstep, one misplaced trust, and both families could fall into ruin. The months that followed were a delicate dance of rivalry and subtle connection. Min-jae and Soo-jin crossed paths constantly, each encounter thick with tension. He found himself thinking of her at night, imagining a life beyond the empire, a life where he could be a man, not a symbol of fear. Yet every time he allowed himself to entertain these thoughts, a cold reminder cut through his fantasies: the syndicate depended on him. His father's empire, his friends' lives, even the city's underground balance, everything rested on his ability to lead. Love, Min-jae knew, was a luxury reserved for fools. Min-jae's loyalty was tested when a rival gang offered him a massive opportunity, a deal that could double the Kwon Syndicate's influence in Seoul. But there was a catch: he had to betray his childhood friend and loyal lieutenant. Tae-hyun had saved Min-jae's life in their teens during a gang ambush, and Min-jae owed him everything. Yet the deal was too lucrative to ignore. Money and power, Min-jae realized, demanded sacrifices, even of the people he cared for most. Soo-jin warned him, her voice trembling, "Don't lose yourself in this world, Min-jae. Power is nothing if it leaves you empty." He wanted to believe her. He wanted to choose differently. But the empire had eyes, ears, and a pulse of its own. To refuse the deal would be to weaken his position, and in their world, weakness was fatal. One night, after a heated boardroom negotiation, Soo-jin confronted him in the streets of Gangnam. Neon lights reflected off the rain-soaked pavement, casting long shadows over their faces. "I could have left everything for you," she whispered, her hand brushing against his sleeve. "We could have been something real." Min-jae looked at her, torn. His chest ached, his soul begged for a different choice, but the ledger of debts, deals, and survival weighed heavier than his heart. "I can't," he said, his voice firm but broken. "I choose my legacy. I choose the empire. I choose money over love." Her eyes, once warm and bright, filled with tears. She turned and walked away, leaving Min-jae alone under the neon glow, the sound of her footsteps echoing in the corridors of his heart. The betrayal of Tae-hyun was executed with ruthless efficiency. Min-jae's decision shocked the syndicate, but his calculated move solidified his position as the undisputed heir. The deal with the rival gang went through flawlessly. Money flowed, territories expanded, and Min-jae became a name whispered with reverence and fear. His empire spanned Seoul's underground, and even legitimate businessmen hesitated to cross him. Yet every victory, every stack of money, every nod of respect from other mafia leaders, felt hollow. Nights in his penthouse were silent, haunted by Soo-jin's absence. Years later, Min-jae's empire was untouchable. He was feared, wealthy beyond imagination, and untouchable by law enforcement. But in the quiet hours, he was haunted by memories: Soo-jin's laughter, Taehyun's betrayal-born glare, and the fleeting warmth of human connection he had abandoned. One evening, as he stared out of his office window overlooking the Han River, Min-jae took a photograph from his drawer, a picture of Soo-jin on the night he chose power over love. He traced her face with his finger, whispering words he would never speak aloud. He had chosen money, yes, but the cost was a life of solitude, a heart forever echoing with the what-ifs of a love he could never claim. In the end, Min-jae understood something all his money and power could not teach him. A legacy built on fear may be respected, but it can never be loved. The empire was his, but the human connections that made life meaningful were gone, leaving him a king in a castle without warmth, ruling over shadows of his own making. Min-jae had everything the world could offer, but he had paid the ultimate price, himself.